Hi there, everybody. I'm Michael Jackson.
And I'm Lone van Schroeder.
We're from Concordium, and this is 26 Questions with Concordium.
Welcome to another exciting interview with MEXC. To proceed forward, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe for more. Also, you have the QR code right here and the link down below to subscribe with MEXC.com and get 20% off your trading fees. So make sure you utilize that opportunity. Enjoy the video. Very well, Michael and Lona, welcome to the interview. Super excited to have you today. How are you doing?
Extremely well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Very fine, looking so much forward to answering the questions.
Likewise, yes, our community was very excited about this one. They had a lot of questions on Twitter, hundreds of them actually, but we chose the top 20 in our opinion that would best describe your project. So if you're ready, I can just dive right in and ask you those questions one by one.
Yes, please, off we go.
Question number one. Could you please tell us the story behind the name Concordium?
Yeah, sure. Let me start with that. That's an interesting question. You know, a concord is an agreement between people. And I think that really sums up what blockchain's all about is a concord, is an agreement. It's an agreement between blocks and an agreement between people on governance. So we think the name reflects well the ethos of the space.
Very well. Yes, that's very neat and concise. And I'm actually doing a quick screen share for everyone who's watching. Guys, if you feel like exploring more about Concordium, we will drop the link down in the description box for you to check it out.
Check out also our NFT. So Concordium is also a goddess. And this is something which stands when every other things are washed away, and that's really the immutability. So we have a super cool NFT, which is giving this symbol.
Oh, okay, cool. So Concordium is a goddess, right? Also, and that's what I didn't know that one. That's an interesting fact. Thank you for sharing that one. Okay, great. Moving on to question number two. How do you envision people using Concordium in the future?
Yeah, well, one of the bases of Concordium is our ID framework. So we're hoping to become a blockchain of choice for anybody who needs an ID framework, a decentralized blockchain, a permissionless blockchain, a public blockchain with an ID framework. And I think we're going to speak about that a bit later. I'd like to get onto it a bit later, but I think this is what makes us truly unique. But just to say why we think that's really important is that ID, it brings trust. And trust is the thing we miss most on the internet, right? We don't know who we're talking to. We don't know if you're a dog is the old meme about this stuff. And we need to bring ID onto the internet. And whether that's knowing who you're dealing with, whether that's a regulatory approach, which some financial institutions need, or just being able to prove who you are to people and your various credentials, we think it's really important for the future of the internet. And of course, as we know, the internet's the basis of the future economy. So we want to be part of that future economy.
Yeah, and we think it's important when you transact that you can actually, that it is under your identity stamp will come actually on all transactions because it's built into the blockchain. So it's not an addition, it is actually built into the protocol. And we can see many examples of why it is so important that you're actually able at the end of the day to link that transaction to that identity. So we like to work with the identity framework, like if you had a wallet and your passport might be, say, the upper identity or your national identity, and at the end of the day, you also have your like email account, and how can you combine these? So you can work with that identity framework and literally putting the missing part into Web3, where you don't have the intermediator who in Web2 solutions might give that, say, certainty that we're putting that certainty, but in a decentralized and self-sovereign way into Web3.
Okay, very well. Lona, just wanted to quickly return to the NFT that you were referring to. If users, let's say, if our viewers would go to the website, where would they go to find that? Could you take me through it?
We can put it up there so you can see it. It's made on Space 7, which is an NFT platform on Concordium.
Oh, okay. So it's not there yet, but it will be live at some point.
We will.
Got it. Moving on with question number 3. What are your plans for growth and what are your main goal elements right now?
Yeah, well, I can start here, London could continue, but we went live a year ago with mainnet. So we've been live a bit of time, just under a year ago. And we've now listed for the first time back in November. trading on a variety of exchanges, including MEXC, of course, which we're delighted about. But that's one thing. What we have is we have these massive plans for the future. And at the moment, we're building up our development toolkit. We're making sure our developers, people who want to engage with us and build product on top of Concordium, can really take advantage of the unique features that we have. Some of them are new to people, as we spoke. The ID framework, we're the only people doing an ID framework on blockchain today. So people are going to have to get used to it and learn the tools and learn the techniques, but also find the applications where this really brings these basic principles to life, because it's a new thing. And of course, we can sit here and try and imagine what people are going to do, but the very best thing is our developers, our community, they find these things. And this community is obviously super important, because they're, you guys are all intelligent people with great ideas. So, we've got going with the community running now. We've hundreds of thousands of people on there. We've got the Discord running. We've got the Telegram running, different languages and all of that. So, our goal now is to get the developers on board, get people building on top of Concordium, and finding unique ways to use identity in Web3 using us.
Yeah, so we are concentrating on use cases both for SMEs, who can see so in the gaming space, in NFT space. Very interesting how we can wrap in content for artists and kind of knock on the door on TikTok, for example, is one of the use cases. So a total new way to use merchandise for artists. At the other end of the scale is we're doing for EV companies like a portal. So how can you actually benefit from running miles in your EV car? So these are just some of the things. We're building a DEX now on Concordium, which will also concentrate on how can you assist in a decentralized exchange that you as a user of the exchange is also aware of your responsibility to comply with various regulations. So the whole framework is around how can we assist in a very complicated world? How can our software make it more easy for those who are developing on Concordium to simply benefit most from the possibilities of Web3? That also includes like low code, no code. We are from the country of Lego in Denmark, and that you can just move boxes and build up your use cases by this simple low code, no code element is what will come here in the nearby future.
Question number 4, can you tell us about the motivation and benefits for investors to keep your token in the long run?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we want to be here for the long time as well, but we want to be growing fast too, of course, like that. But I think it's about our ambition level. I mean, in my place, in Luna's place, in La Sire, our founder's place, we've always dealt with large projects. We've had large projects. Today, Lona and I, we spend our energy in large companies. We've spent a lot of time there, and in companies that have been successful in IKEA, in Skype, in MEXC, in Saxo Bank, and so on. We want to build stuff which is around for the long term. So, just pumping this and rug pulling is no way in our DNA and the way we've worked or anything like that. And I think that motivation that we have to develop something which is really going to put yet another stake in the ground in our achievements through life should be something that you guys can believe in as well. So we want to be able to look back in a few years that we built something which is a true game changer. Using the benefits of blockchain technology, distributed ledger technology, which I've been involved with for many years, and really want to make it come to life. And I think that motivation should be your motivation.
And this is still, when I said yes to the project, is because I didn't know about blockchain, but many of my peers from large Fortune 500 companies, they know that they have to know about it. So it's still, very immature, just the thought, how can you use a true decentralized blockchain and what possibilities does that give? So I see a lot of interesting things which will come back now to the massive amount of companies who can build these decentralized solutions in, at the same time supporting a total new way for every person in the world to interact. So this is long-term. You need a solid technology. You can take very good elements from what is out there, mature it so it's business grade or enterprise grade, and then make it simple. Because it's very confusing just to tell what the technology is about. So I think that is the one key element I'm working most with, is make it simple so new users can understand and benefit from the technology.
Exactly, yeah. So it's familiar like Web 2, but has the features of Web 3. Yeah, basically, so it's easy to grasp and understand. Exactly. Question number 5, what outstanding strategies does your project have to develop stronger in the near future when previous projects have implemented most of the current trends? Well, I don't know about that one. What do you guys say?
I think we have to once again go back to our main unique feature here, identity layer that we have. We're the only chain that has the layer 1 identity layer built in, as we spoke about earlier. So I think no one is better equipped than us for a world in which identity is becoming more and more important. One of the cases we have is ESG, supply chain management, for example, where the whole world wants to know where stuff is coming from today, what's the source of product. And we can put whatever we want on the blockchain, but we want to know who's put it on the blockchain, who's put it into the system. And only having a hard ID allows people to be certain that the data that's in the blockchain is correct. It runs into ESG, but it also runs into, for example, NFTs. We want to know, is the artist the artist? We see so many scams going on with people producing copies of NFTs, likenesses of NFTs, not connected with the original artist, but we want the artist to be. In Concordium, the artist will be able to certify themselves and prove who they are, so that people buying and interacting with their product, they can be quite sure about it and all that. And that goes through different levels at NFT, which is art at one level, all the way through to ESG, which is super important for society going forward. So it's the whole span between these two different areas where we can come into it. So I think that's our unique thing, and no other project has that.
Quick question here, actually, regarding identity. I know that there's a trend, actually, for the last couple of years in the crypto space, where projects are trying to adapt a better solution for data transmission and data security, named data networking in specific, trying to replace the IP address with this particular technology. I'm not sure how familiar you are with this, because it's not very widespread, although there has been developments going on in that regard. And I was wondering if perhaps Concordium is considering something similar of that nature, basically removing the notion of data being built around a centralized server and putting data in the center of the attention of the network. And so having everything revolve around that. Is that something on a technological level that you guys are trying to achieve, or you have a different approach to that? I don't know how much you can disclose, although.
No, there are many elements in it. The self-sovereign thing is very important. The other thing is that you have a landscape of GDPR around the world, which is evolving. So there's a limit to what you can have, or you can't have anybody's ID at the chain. Even if you give a consent, you should be able to disconsent later and remove the data. So it's a complicated space, and the solution we are proposing is a solution which takes all these considerations into mind.
It's a very interesting concept, by the way. It's been in the making for the last 10 years from the Oakland University, and actually the people who are working on this technology, part of the team was working on the IP address that replaced the telephone lines. And so the same team that did that 6 years back, they're working on this named data networking concept, which is in some shape or form is being adopted by big names out there, but it's all more experimental at this stage. It's not real use cases at this point. It just reminded me about that, that identity protection, and it reminded me about this technology.
I think the whole space of self-sovereign is for me, it's a key word to many things in the world. Often you are dependent, even if you have your identities, you are dependent on if somebody just want to issue your new passport, for example, when it's expiring, and if there is a chaotic situation, which we saw in many countries during COVID, that yes, I do have my identity, but now I can't prove it with a updated passport, for example. So I think that entire space is very, very important, and all technologies who can support that. Everybody in the world does have an identity. Today, you know that 2 billion persons in the world doesn't have an identity for various reasons. That is a fundamental right for people to make a living, to be a person, to identify yourself to other people. So identity, if we just with our blockchain is solving that part as we develop our sovereign identity, I think we have done marvelous for this world.
Question number 6. What is the most ambitious goal of your project? And could you share with us any upcoming updates?
Yep, sure. Well, we've touched on it a bit already. I mean, the most ambitious goal, or if I was to set a dream for Concordium, it would be that we were the identity layer of Web3. That when we look back in 5 years' time, Concordium is being used in every transaction, every interaction in Web3 where identity has been part of it. We believe there's no reason why we can't get there. Obviously, it's a really ambitious goal, and there are ways of, if we don't quite get there, we'll get a long way along that journey. But that's certainly where we want to be, something along that. Regarding the updates, yeah, exactly. We've got our technical roadmap on the website, and very soon we're launching our new version, our new chain, Sirius. That includes a lot of new stuff, a lot of delegation, a lot of staking improvements so that people are holding tokens, can stake and delegate them to pools. They're not having to run their own nodes and these sort of things like that. Our token standards are there. We've got we call it our Concordium CIS, our Concordium token standard, and that's the equivalent of ERC20, ERC 721, and it has a number of little benefits around that 721 doesn't have. For example, one of them being privacy. So that's part of what we're talking about. And through that, a lot of additional things around the things you need to use Concordium. A much better mobile wallet. We introduced a new mobile wallet last month. Another one's coming along. A lot more ecosystem engagement. So, running into bridges, running into exchanges, making it easier for people to deal and manage their token holdings and things like that. But I think the most important thing of our release, which isn't actually a chain release, is all of the developer tools that are coming along. We're releasing them bit by bit as they're ready, of course. We don't wait for a big release to do that. But I think you see when Sirius is there, certainly our development team have got a real focus on ensuring that everything's extremely usable. And as you can see by the names of the planets, we've got a roll of different updates coming along going forward. There's a lot to be done in this space, and capacity improvements, of course, are there, and a lot of other exciting things coming along. Yeah. Okay, moving on with question number 7. What is the Concordium's 2-layer consensus mechanism, Nakamoto-style consensus, and how important is it for the proper functioning of Concordium? Could you also add a brief explanation of how it works? Yeah, sure. I mean, the idea of a 2-layer consensus mechanism is the way you achieve finality within the network. You want the blocks to be made, you want consensus around what the blocks are, and you want consensus around whether there's a finality of those blocks. Are they going to change? Are they the final truth? And with the mechanism that we've adopted, our blocks are the final blocks when they're produced after the 9 seconds through the voting mechanism that's done by the allocation of our validators. We have a validation pool, a validation committee that makes sure that the blocks are validated correctly. This becomes really important when we move on to our coming features of sharding and capacity. Our team at the university in Aarhus and at ETH in Zurich are working really, really hard on this. They're top people in blockchain. They've been working on this center, Cobra, for about 20 people there. They've been working for 5 years on these things, and consensus is one of their major aspects of it. Where this is super important is when we start to talk about sharding, because in a shard you have, if you like, a little subset of your blockchain working in a shard, and then you have another shard with another subset of blockchain, and you need to somehow roll up those shards to make sure the whole blockchain is final. And that's a mechanism that we've invented. That we've got science papers on this. We've got a huge number of science papers. You can read about them on the site and within Cobra's site. And what this means is something truly unique. It means we can develop consensus depending on the capacity of the underlying network. So when the internet's working well, when the nodes are communicating efficiently, quickly, there's no sign of any corruption or transmission difficulties or whatever, then the nodes can build consensus really, really fast and choose the validation committee really, really, amongst loads of people. When the conditions of the network begin to deteriorate, because of deteriorating internet, overloaded internet, or even overloaded validators, the network can adjust the consensus time a little bit further out to give people time to work or have the transmission time to do stuff. So we have a sort of a sliding scale. But what it does mean is the blocks are final. When they're final, they're final. And we think that's super important across an entire sharded network. And that's, again, something unique. And we'll be bringing that into life hopefully at the end of the year.
And for businesses, this is truly important, actually, even if there's a theoretical likelihood that you will not have a rollback on probabilistic blockchains, such as Bitcoin, for example, but there is a chance that it can roll back, and it does roll back. Building the applications in the financial world, I can mention a lot of use cases where you simply can't, you are dependent on that when a deal is done, it's done. So our is deterministic. So when it's done, and it's done within a few seconds after the block is built. We think this is just a must-have for building your use cases. This is why, amongst other reasons, why you use a blockchain, that it has to be immutable.
And question number 8, is it possible that Concordium will implement NFT technology in its network and ecosystem in the future? You partially answered that question previously, but perhaps you have something more to add here.
Yeah, I mean, in the future, we're already doing it. So we've got a nice token framework running today. We have people building NFT platforms on on Concordium today. There's a number of them running and a number of them coming along. So that's great. We're doing that. We've had a very successful NFT drop recently. Magnus Carlsen, the world chess champion, for example, he did a drop on Concordium and so on. But yeah, it's running already. You don't need to wait.
Awesome. All right, everything changes very fast on a daily and weekly basis, and it's very difficult to catch different chains and their developments. How does your project close this gap?
Yeah, that's right, isn't it? This space is extremely confusing. Everybody's doing new things all the time, and they're talking about stuff all the time. I think, we have the basic functionality that every blockchain needs, and we think we're top of class on all of that as well. So, we've spoken a lot about ID today. We spoke a little bit about our finality. We have all the other features, the speed, the sharding, whatever you might need out of a blockchain. I think I can say we have it at the technical level because we've got such a solid basis in science and in the development team and developing stuff properly. So in that respect, I don't think we have really much of a gap to close on it. What we have to do is to get ahead of the pack with the features which we have, which are truly unique. And that's what we're rolling out and pushing really, really hard now.
Nice. Question number 10. What are long-term plans of Concordium to be part of the Metaverse boom? In coming months, let's say years, is the ecosystem and tokenomics well prepared, open for such collaborations?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Metaverse is dreadfully exciting, right? Otherwise we call Web3 or something. It's what a lot of people are working on, and we kind of know it in our own way from gaming and virtual worlds and things that we've been kicking around with for some years, actually. So it's not new in that. Again, I'm going to talk about it once again. Within the Metaverse, you need to know who your counterparty is. Everybody in the Metaverse is running on a handle, on an avatar or whatever. You don't really know who they are, and that's kind of fine and good in some environments, and that's the way you want to behave, because many of us have, if you like, an alternative personality when we're in the virtual world, and we want to keep that. But every so often we do want to know who the real person is behind, for example, behind an avatar. If I want to trade with them, if I want to buy something from them, I want to be fairly sure who it is. And that person doesn't want to reveal all their identity to me, right? They don't want to tell Michael here, Mark, you don't want to tell me your name and address or where you're living and everything. I just need to be sure that Mark, or that the guy behind your avatar who says he's called Mark, is really Mark. So you're going to be able to prove to me with our zero knowledge proof structure that you are indeed called Mark, that you do indeed live where you say you live. It's really quite magical what some of the zero knowledge proof stuff can do. You can prove you have a bank account, you can prove whatever, but most importantly, you can prove you're the rightful owner of an NFT, for example. And I think in the Metaverse, if it's not going to degenerate into total chaos, then I think one of the fundamental things we need around that is identity, and so we're absolutely in it, and it's new. I mean, it's kind of it's been around a bit, but it's getting traction now, and we're positioning ourselves nicely in that space, I think.
Okay, great. Could you tell us about the current partners, plans for partnerships, and what everybody stands to gain from these partnerships?
Yeah, sure. I mean, partnerships are really, really important in this space. It's a collaborative space where we all need to build on each other and stand on each other's shoulders to get noticed, right? So we've got, of course, our industrial partnerships with people in the crypto ecosystem, the custodians, the exchanges like MEXC and so on, to build that side of the industry up. At the same time, of course, we need the partnerships which are going to help us build great showcases, great products, and demonstrate the power of what we can do. And some of those, of course, are the newer companies we spoke about earlier. We spoke about Hyperi, about Victory, about Space 7, about Swivel, various people in the space. But together with that, working around on the longer term, and one of the questions earlier was about the longer term aspects of this. We're, of course, deeply connected with the industrial world as well. Lorna, myself, and various members of the team remain deeply connected with large industrial corporations, and getting those into the space is also super important. So we're hoping to be able to announce collaborations with that. We have, I don't know if you guys know of Geely. Geely is a massive car manufacturer and a conglomerate based out of China. They're a big supporter of Concordia, and we've got cooperations with them. We have other stuff coming on, which we're launching. The other side of it is, you can read a lot about this on the website, is our research arm, because we think research is super, super important on this. It's how Lars Seier began the project, was actually sponsoring Cobra, a blockchain research association in Aarhus. He started by basically sponsoring that and finding out if we could do something which was truly unique, which he did. We have ETH in Zurich, one of the leading technical universities in the world, the IT University of Copenhagen. Denmark's extremely well known for cryptography and blockchain. A lot of the original blockchain companies actually are formed by Danish people, and the basis of a lot of cryptography comes from Denmark. I'll give you a couple of small examples. Even Damgaard, who's one of our scientists, he was behind the Merkle-Damgaard, which we know as the Merkle trees now, but Merkle-Damgaard was actually one of his inventions. Torben Peterson did something called the Peterson Commitment, which is the basis of zero-knowledge proofs, and these people are also on our staff. So, we're deeply connected with that, and those partnerships they're the sort of thing that's driving the basic science, which is driving us forward, and the industrial partnerships are the ones that are going to, pull us forward from the front end, if you like. So that's good.
Just mentioning a couple of the things in the science space, I think the Medium Post articles, for example, what we are telling about delegation to a pool. So why does science matter, and why does it matter to really understand the cryptographic thinking behind that? Because it's all about how secure the network is. This massive amount of value you bring into blockchain solutions. So to understand what is behind that, you don't do a decentralized network, to put it simply to make it very centralized in terms of how you are delegating. So a lot of these science are thinking on delegation, on governance, on tokenomics, what we are using our scientists at Cobra University, at Aarhus University and ETH. Very interesting, and at the end of the day, to have this business grade software, like certified, not only certified software, but also software where the whole elements behind the decentralization and why we do things are really supported by peer-reviewed science papers. I think that is unique for Concordium.
Concordium reminds me of KYC systems. So are Concordium services really different from what we know as KYC methods nowadays? Just out of pure curiosity, can Concordium work as a KYC system if that's what a company wants from it?
Yeah, that's a great question from the audience here. Thank you for that. I mean, KYC for financial services and for business is a really complex area, and it's about knowing your customer. One of the key aspects is knowing the identity of the customer, but businesses, there's a lot more around KYC than just that. It's not just knowing the name and address of the customer. That's the tiniest part of it. So we contribute to being part of a KYC solution for people. We help them be able to develop products and projects in the future which are compatible with the rules and the regulations. And we have, because we've based that at the layer 1, they can rely on the information that's provided by customers through our ID framework. But we're not doing a KYC system for customers. That's not our role. And certainly, I don't want to give anybody an impression that Concordium is looking after the identity of everybody on the metaverse, right? That would be a really, really dangerous thing to be doing and something that nobody would want us to be doing. So I don't want anybody to walk away with that impression.
Got it. Question number 13. Do you have a user manual or short videos that would guide potential users of the project to safely navigate your platform?
Yeah, well, we've got we've got a great website there. I think if you talk about a user manual or short videos, you're going to find them all on the platform. And I'd encourage people to go there and look. I think we've got a lot of explainer videos going on. We've got a lot of text on that. And of course, we change the website all the time, as one does. You can see our Crypto Channel Direct, which is a television channel. I think it's really great. It's a very short summary of the week's news in crypto. It's about 15 minutes, covering about 3 or 4 stories. And we try and bring that across in a very accessible way, explaining it in ways that, people can understand. So, there's a lot of noise in this space. There's a lot of acronyms and technical terms and things like that confuse people. And I think that through that site, we can hopefully at least shed light on a few of those in a simple way. And there's nothing embarrassing about saying you don't know something in crypto, right? There's not. None of us know everything.
I think that's the important part, Michael. That is what I pick up from corporations who really want to interact. But it's difficult to say that you don't even know what Web3 is. And really starting from there to say it is super confusing, even on the coding side, a lot of new coding languages, etc. So you will see as we develop over the next couple of years, we'll make some simple things, make it simple to use blockchain and enjoy all the benefits of a decentralized system.
Nice, love it. Okay, question number 14. Why did you guys choose to establish your project on your own blockchain? How will it make things better towards the future?
I think the answer to that's quite simple. When in 2018, when the work began on this, there was no blockchain with identity embedded at the protocol layer. And Lars Seier and the team back then saw that as being absolutely essential for the future. They saw it as the future for financial services and all that, which was a big part of transacting at that point. But since then, Web3's come around, and I just think it's even more important now than it was then. So that's the direction of travel. It turned out to be rather good foresight there, I think.
Nice. Okay, question number 15. With more and more regulations coming into crypto, will Concordium be adaptable enough to cope with the demands?
That's what we're here for, is to help the projects provide a framework for the projects that build on Concordium to be compatible with future regulation. And there's absolutely no doubt the regulation's coming. There's never been any doubt. And now we see it all over the place coming through now in Europe, but of course in the rest of the world with that. So, project building on Concordium can use our tools to help them be fully compliant. You can build for example, you could build a DEX on Concordium that could verify, you could be certain who was trading with that DEX, that they came from a certain geography or they had a certain profile or a certain source of funds or whatever. You could manage that through zero knowledge proofs. The user of the DEX could prove that to you or to the DEX software that they had certain characteristics, and the DEX software would only allow people with those characteristics to interact and therefore be much tighter and things like that around satisfying the needs of the regulators. And the regulators' needs is quite simple. They want to protect consumers from cheats, basically. They're not about killing crypto. They're trying to keep the world safe. And once again, I keep going back to it. Identity is the key to keeping the world safe.
All right, question number 16. What are the eligibility requirements for joining Concordium as a developer?
Yeah, I thought about that. This was a great question from somebody. How do you join as a developer? Well, I think the great thing about the crypto ecosystem is you can start by messing around with something relatively simple and then graduate all the way up to be, a super expert in this. And the reassuring thing about crypto is like, nobody knew anything about it, let's say 10 years ago. So anybody who's learned anything has learned it. It's very accessible for people. So to join Concordium as a developer, we have very, very strict requirements. If you're working with our core protocols, scientists or PhDs and people like that, which is one thing. But we've got lots of open positions for people who are interested in in working in the space, in working with us, in building up smart contracts, in building up our ecosystem and things like that. And some of this work's really, really complex, but some of it's quite accessible. So I'd encourage people to look on the website, start to build on Concordium. When they get an idea about what they're doing, give us a call, and there's plenty of opportunities for people within our space. We'd love to talk to you.
We love also to speak with all the use case houses around in the world. So hundreds and hundreds of new use case houses are coming up. So join us, become our partners, and we'll also issue an ambassador program quite soon. Plenty of opportunities.
Okay, yeah, and of course we'll put all the links down below so anyone who's interested can join. Question number 17. I read that Concordium is compliant by design, but it is not entirely clear to me how their public blockchain is designed. So can you explain in detail how Concordium's network is designed? What are the main features of such architecture?
Yeah, so there's a lot about our design on our website. I think it's difficult to describe the whole thing in 2 sentences now, Mark, but I think the key aspect of that is we center around, well, the important thing to do is center around identity. So the first thing you do is you get an identity object. Don't create an address on chain like you do with most of the other level 1 chains. You actually have to go get an identity object from one of our identity providers, and in the future from some of the businesses and things we cooperate with or are going to be building on Concordium. When you have that, you can create an address, and from that address, you then have you have that in your wallet on your phone, on your computer, with the identity object connected to that. That identity object can spawn as many addresses as you want, and you can use those for transferring CCD, but also for accessing smart contracts and these things. And that identity layer is separate from the blockchain. It's really important, again, to know that our identity system is kept within your control, in your wallet, within your identity object. It's not public on the blockchain. I can't read all about you or about MEXC or about me by just looking on the public blockchain. So we've got this framework running around that. There's a lot about it on our website. I'd encourage people to go there. I hope it's clear. If it's not clear, please reach out. Please reach out to us through our Twitter channel and through our Discord or whatever. If there's something you don't want to understand, we come from science, and science is about cooperation, and all public science in these public universities is essentially public. So there's nothing secret. So reach out if you don't get it.
Or question number 18, what has been the most fun part of developing the project thus far?
Developing and running these big projects is difficult because you work really, really hard and nothing much is going on, and you don't know what's going to happen or if it's going to work. And one day you wake up and you think it's going to be amazing, and the next day you wake up and you wonder, oh gosh, this is like a big thing, and are we going to manage it and all of that kind of thing? Are we going to make it, right? But I think the best day for me was the day I woke up and realized that we honestly actually have a chance to be a meaningful part of everyone's online and offline life, right? Through this coming metaverse, through the Web3, through the fact that everybody's digital identity is just critical to their lives, and it's going to be even more and more important, and we can be part of that. And I think that was the most fun part, is actually having that realization that we are actually going to make it, and we are actually going to be important. I think that's just incredibly motivating for me and certainly the rest of the team when we talk about it. Yeah.
Outstanding. Question number 19, what are the steps to become a part of your community and start getting revenue? Where do we buy CCD token right now?
Yeah, well, to become part of our community, we have our website, we have our Discord, we have our Telegram channels. Please join them. I'm sure you'll show us the links later. These are too complicated for you. You're new into crypto, you're new into Concordium. Follow the CCD channel on the YouTube. That'll bring you in nice and steadily, I hope. You get the pill bit by bit through that. The idea of a weekly show, which is very accessible, just lasting 15 minutes, should be a good beginning for everybody. Where you buy the CCD today? Well, MEXC is a great exchange. I'm going to say we're on your channel. Thank you for that. And as they say on the TV, other venues are available as well.
Of course. If you had to explain in one sentence to those who can't see the future of CCD, what would you say?
By billions of people in millions of companies across the metaverse. Wouldn't that be great?
And I would say here's a chance to get in quite early in a project, and with that vision, everything is possible.
All right. Yeah, totally support that. Thank you so much for answering the 20 questions from the community, Michael and Ilona. Now it is your turn to address your 6 questions back to the community so they can earn additional rewards by doing the research and commenting down below. If they get it right, well, we'll be able to distribute some additional rewards to them. So whenever you're ready, please go ahead with the 6 questions to the community.
What makes Concordium different from other layer 1 blockchains? Question 2, Concordium has a variety of benefits. What are the most important ones? Question 3, where can you buy CCD?
And question 4, Concordium powers a weekly news show. What is it called and where can you see it? And question 5, Concordium prides itself of being science-backed. How many peer-reviewed science papers lay on the basis for Concordium's tech? And how quickly are blocks finalized on Concordium, after which there's no chance of rollback?
Nice. Guys, if you feel like earning additional rewards, make sure to do your research and comment down below. We will verify the answers. If you get it right, you'll be able to get some additional rewards. And if you saw one of your 20 questions on the screen, that means you are the lucky winner and you can claim your rewards by following the instructions down in the description box. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more. And Michael and Ilona, I thank you so much for coming over today. It was a long interview, but it was exciting. It was very detailed, and I hope that our viewers benefited from it a lot. I wish you nothing but success going forward with Concordium, and I hope somewhere down the road in the future we will do this again.
Thank you very much for your time, and look forward to interacting with our entire community going forward and building Concordium into what it deserves to be.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Take care. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.